Fallout from that terrorist strike in Turkey, a child suicide bomber attacking a wedding, leaving 51 dead. ISIS is being blamed for the attack. But Turkey's prime minister blames Assad for not preventing these attacks. He says there's no role for the Syrian president in Syria's future. Former Navy SEAL Carl Higbie disagrees. So you're saying getting rid of Assad would be the same thing we did in Iraq, same thing we did in Libya, same thing we've done around the world, particularly in the Middle East, where the vacuums are too large and create even a worse situation.
Look, I think Assad is a terrible guy. He's doing terrible things. But that said, look what happened in Iraq. Saddam was doing the same stuff. He was a murderous dictator, committing heinous acts on his own people, throwing them into wars. The problem is, what is the plan 10 years down the road? Are we going to maintain long-term occupancy? Because look at when we pulled out of Iraq, now you got ISIS. If we do that, we're going to further destabilize the region. I don't like him there particularly myself, but we don't have the resources, we don't have the funding, we don't have the public support in order to maintain stabilization in that region. These people speak dictator, leave him there, let him do his thing. It's not our problem.
What about the idea that there's usually some sort of resistance force within those particular countries? How come we have not been able to elevate certain leaders? I know that, for instance, Colin Powell and others thought we should have left certain generals in position in Iraq so that they could have been the ones in charge of keeping the peace and recobbling the country together.
What happens is you have a number of Joint Chiefs and high-ranking people that may advise this regime, this presidential regime of Barack Obama, on what to do. He doesn't listen to them. The fact of the matter is we as a country and as our leadership does not understand the conflict over there. We started arming the Syrian rebels. From those Syrian rebels was born ISIS, okay? So Assad was fighting the rebels.
The same Syrian rebels that are fighting ISIS right now, or a faction of them?
No, a faction of them, but some of them came intermittently. I mean, they fled from Assad. They started fighting, not necessarily when ISIS broke off. They didn't start fighting Assad. They fighted the Kurds in the north, and then they started fighting the own rebels that they came from. We don't understand the situation well enough in the region to jump in and overthrow a dictator. We just can't do it. And if we haven't learned anything from the war in Iraq, look at this very carefully.
So the moral high ground that America has put itself on, the world's policeman, when someone like an Assad, barrel bombs his people with gasoline, his father was very destructive.
Yep.
Do we just kind of turn a blind eye and just hope that it stays within that country and whoever gets slaughtered just gets slaughtered?
Maybe we should have a region in the area, maybe Turkey, if they want to lead the coalition against them, if they want to commit the majority of the resources. I mean, heck, they were buying all the oil from ISIS a while back, so they have the money. Why don't we have them lead the coalition, and then maybe we can lend aid to them?
What about the role of others, like a Saudi Arabia? I mean, these are our quote-unquote allies, and they've got billions of dollars. They don't take any refugees. They've got tent cities with air conditionings, all empty. How come we're not putting pressure on them? What do you think the reason is for that?
Well, I think the fact is we're looking at this from the 1,000-foot view, saying, oh, Assad's such a bad guy, let's overthrow him. But the fact is, the people in the region who understand the dynamics and the principles and the concept of that ideology are not getting involved for a very good reason. We should take a lesson from their book. And I don't like learning a lot of things from other countries because I think that America fundamentally is better than every other country. I mean, look at the Olympic medal count.
Sure.
But we have to take a page from their book and say, why are they not getting involved? Maybe we should ask that question.
What about our European allies? They're so much closer. For instance, Libya, there was a threat of no oil being cut off by Gaddafi. It would have strangled Italy's already weak economy and others. I don't think they can defend themselves. Do we allow a powder keg to develop in the Middle East that could eventually swamp Europe?
So here's the thing. It must be contained at some level, and that's going to require massive ally support. I mean, Angela Merkel is still accepting refugees off the charts, yet it's causing a massive problem. These people don't understand. It will develop, it will metastasize, but we have to be willing to contain, and that's going to require resources. But I don't think right now we should be overthrowing a dictator that is a measure of some sort of stability. Not great, but it is not a measure of stability. It is a measure of stability in the region.
Carl Higbie, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
The billionaire battle between Mark Cuban and Carl Icahn heating up.